Hello students, welcome into the another session of CS22 operating system concepts using Linux Unix. We are discussing about the chapter number 1 introduction, in which we have started with various types of operating system. From the bunch of different types of operating system, lastly we have discussed about distributed operating system, and then we have started with the discussion of real-time operating system, in which we have defined the definition of real-time operating system, which is also called as RTOS. This entire operating system is depend on the execution of time at the specific time for the various processes handled by either a single processor or multiple number of processors which have different configurations. This particular operating system is known for its response time, as the response time is very less compared to the other operating system. Then this was all about the definition of real-time operating system. Then this operating system is mainly used into the experimental components like scientific experiments, medical imaging, industrial control system, weapon system, robots, air traffic control, etc. etc. Then this is the first operating system, which is internally divided into the two subtypes, that is hard real-time operating system, and second one is soft real-time operating system. Now, what is hard real-time operating system? Hard real-time operating system means it gives the guarantee to complete the critical task at the specific time. Again, I am repeating my words. Hard real-time operating system means there is a guarantee of executing a task on a decided time, that is called as hard time operating system. It is just like a countdown from 10 to 1. When 1 is declared by the authority, the space shuttle should be launched. This is just a simple one example. Many examples we can consider over here. Let's move on. Now, as I says, hard real-time operating system known for the guarantee of execution of the task on a specific time. So that's why in hard real-time operating system, secondary storage device like random access memory, or we can say read-only memory, is missing. In this system, never the virtual memory founds, because if we source the data, the execution of time, generally in routine system, the computers that we are using in our routines, whenever we as a user request any information from the computer, it first store that information inside the random access memory, as this is a primary memory, and then it moves to the particular secondary storage device. This is the routine scenario of simple computers. But whenever that computer have hard real-time operating system, then there is no picture of random access memory, or we can say read-only memory. Virtual memory never founds. These are the virtual memories. There is a direct interaction of central processing unit with the internal resources or the other hardwares. Soft real-time operating system means soft real-time systems are less restrictive. This is the line, the first line for soft real-time operating system. Soft real-time operating systems are less restrictive. That means a critical real-time task gets the priority over the other task and retains the priority until it completes. That means in soft real-time operating system there is a little bit introduction of artificial intelligence, where system itself decides that which task from the bunch of tasks gets a priority execution. Again, I'm repeating my words. It's little bit tricky. Suppose we are using soft real-time operating system, that operating system is less restrictive due to its artificial intelligence, where operating system itself decides from the bunch of tasks, which is ultimately the request or number of requests which is generated by the user. From that bunch, which activity or which task should be given the priority, that has been decided by soft real-time operating system. Let's go ahead. Soft real-time system have limited utility than hard real-time operating system. Again, I am repeating my words. Soft real-time operating system have less utility than hard real-time operating system. That means the reliability of the system is more into the real-time, soft real-time operating system, and due to this, there is a one big disadvantage of soft real-time operating system is there, that is the problem of crash, or we can say the crashing of operating system. Linux is a very sensitive operating system comparative to the Windows operating system, because if Windows get restarted unconditionally, then there is no problem of system crash in Windows due to its internal architecture. While in Linux, as it used the kernel, obviously this word is newer for all of you, called kernel. In chapter number 2 we will discuss in detail about the kernel, but just listen the word called kernel. As Linux used the kernel, if we unconditionally restarts the system, then it might get crash and operating system cannot load properly over the screen. So Linux is more sensitive than Windows. Yes, we can say that due to all these disadvantages. See, directly I am not comparing Windows and OS. Both are proper at their positions. But day by day, you have to keep every topics in your mind, which ultimately gives the bifurcation between the Windows and Linux. So why the Windows is more popular in the market? If you ask any technical person or non-technical persons that which operating system you use, they generally says that we are using Windows and any of the flavor of Windows, right? And if that particular person is more technical, then they says the name of that particular flavor. Otherwise, they says we are using Windows. So due to this, Windows is more popular. Anyways, let's go ahead. Now this soft real-time operating system is generally used into the multimedia designing, virtual reality, advanced scientific projects, planetary, etc. etc. These are the specific area of these are the specific areas in which real-time operating system are widely used. That doesn't mean we cannot use hard real-time operating system over there, but especially whenever there is a multimedia designing, virtual reality, advanced scientific projects, etc. etc. as I have already conveyed with you. In all these areas, soft real-time operating system are widely used. So this was all about the different types of operating system which we have as prescribed by the syllabus of Saurashtra University for chapter number 1. Now just look at to the syllabus part which we are considering right now in this semester. This is the syllabus. Let's revise the chapter number 1 and their topics. Should we have discussed all that or not? So this is chapter number 1 called Introduction. In my first lecture I have given you the definition and the justification of operating system. Then in lecture number 2, 3 we have discussed about various types of functions. In 4 and 5 we have discussed about various types of features, and from 5th onwards, including in 5th, we have started with different types of operating system, starting with batch. Then we have go for batch operating system, time sharing operating system, distributed operating system, network operating system, real time operating system with its two internal bifurcation, and so on. We have discussed in these selected topics. Parallelly with this, we have taken the advantages and the disadvantages of all these operating system and their usage. So the chapter number 1 and all these selected topics gets completed. Now, without wasting more time, we are starting with the chapter number 2, or we can say the unit number 2, called process management. Now if you remembers, when we have discussed about the functions of operating system, we have listed multiple number of functions in chapter number 1, where from this entire list, the first function of operating system is its process management. Sorry, second function is process management. First one is memory management. So this particular chapter focus on the entire component called process management of operating system which we are using. What we have to discuss in this chapter? There is a very brief discussion of operating system processes. First we will see that what is process. It's very easy to speak the word called process, but we'll take the definition of process first. Then the second topic that we have to discuss is process state diagram. It's very important for university examination. Then third one is various process scheduling algorithms. We says that our system is automatic, but how it automatically works we didn't know. So that automation is done using various types of scheduling algorithms that is listed over here called FCFS, that is first come first serve, SJN, that is shortest job next, third one is round robin, fourth is priority based non-primitive algorithm, and the last one is priority based primitive algorithm. So these are the core part that we have to discuss for chapter number 2. So let's start with the details. First we will define the word called process. Process means it's a one type of execution, either it may be known or unknown for the system. Again I am repeating my words. Process means it's a one type of execution which might be known or unknown for the system. So it's a condition. So there is a one condition. If that process is known for the system, it gives you the proper output onto the screen as it is known by the system. In a reverse case, if that execution is unknown for the system, then the system also gives the output onto the screen, but that output is in a format of exception, or we can say the error, as it is unknown by the system. That means system means central processing unit, obviously. Here system means not a computer system, but it's one component of the computer system called central processing unit. In short, central processing unit identifies the process, then it gives the relevant output. If central processing unit is unable to rectify the process, it gives the output, but that output is in a format of exception, or we can say the error. Now one more thing. Process is not same as program code, but it is more than that. Say for example, in programming in C, we are writing the structure of program first, which includes the library, then the main executable statement, and opening bracket with relevant closing brackets, and then in this bracket we are implementing our own logic. So Why I have taken this particular example? Process is generated obviously automatically by the different resources of the computer, but it should be framed properly that the central processing unit recognize that process and its purpose, because it's a one type of cookie in which it executes some information over the screen which is requested by the users. The same thing is written over here. A process is an active entity as opposed to the program which is considered to be passive entity. Attributes held by the process includes hardware state, memory recognition, CPU, etc. etc. That means a one process which is executed inside the system doesn't only concerns with the central processing unit, but it concerns with the other resources of the computer systems like memory, CPU itself, other hardwares like random access memory, read-only memory, secondary storage device called hard disk, etc. etc. That process stores inside the processor memory, which we know which we knows as a virtual memory. Now, whenever the process stores inside the processor memory, it is divided into the four sections. That means a single process have the four subsections. Actually, process have mainly of three types. Process might be a microprocess, mini process, or the major process. Single difference between these three is its life cycle. Microprocess executes for the very short interval of time. Minor executes longer than that, and the major process is longest. One of the example of all these three, whenever we starts the computer, that means whenever we plugged and press the start key, the first process is a microprocess in which it passes the electric signal in every component of the computer system just to invoke all the hardwares. The interval of this microprocess is very short. Within a fraction of time, it gets completed. Then the minor process starts. In that minor process, there is an initialization of booting process. That means the booting process resides into the read-only memory of the computer, which should be shifted into the primary memory. So that is called as minor process. And then even it handles in a very fraction of time. Then the third phase starts, that is called as actual booting process. In actual booting process, operating system get load from the secondary storage device to the primary storage device called random access memory. It is little bit larger as far as the time is concerned. That is the major process. But ultimately these are the processes. All these processes, whenever they get executed by the central processing unit, they are internally divided into the four sections. That four sections are, I just want to say the name of that sections first. The first section is text section. Second is the data section. Every mini, major, minor process contains 4 sections. Number 1 text, number 2 data, number 3 is heap section, it's a sorting type, and the last one is a stack section. Again I am repeating my words. Every process is subdivided into the 4 sections: text section, data section, heap section, and the stack section. Question may be asked into the university like this, university exam like this: what is process? Write a short note on process state diagram. So right now we are discussing about what is process, and shortly we'll move to the process state diagram also. Now let's discuss each and every sections little bit more. So first is a text section of process is made up of compiled program code which reads from non-volatile storage when the program is launched. This is the technical line written for text section. Let's justify it. Again I am repeating my words. Text section contains the compiled program code. So it should be first clear that what is compiled program code. Compiled program code means it's a binary code which is generated by the system as it is recognized by the central processing unit. I have just conveyed one thing: process is known or unknown. If process is known, then how it becomes known? It becomes known by recognizing their compiled program code which is recognized by the central processing unit. So text section hold all that compiled program code. Question comes in our mind that can we see that compiled program code? Obviously we can see that compiled program codes by just opening the configuration file of that particular program into the notepad, but that codes are written in binary language. If you want to recognize it, then we require the knowledge of binary language too. So it reads, that means this compiled program code resides into the non-volatile storage where the program from where the program gets launched. So this is the location where that particular information get stored. Now second section is the data section. It holds the various types of variables. Generally there are two types of variables. Various means one is global variable and second is static variable. Static variable means which is known by the entire architecture only, in which it is defined. That is called as static variables. And global variable means these are the variables which can also be recognized by the same architecture and even the other architecture of other programs also. That is called as global architecture. Now what is the purpose of discussing this thing? It is used to initialize the priority of the execution from the main storage of that particular application. One example we have taken into the previous lectures, I don't know in which lecture, but I have conveyed the message. Just experiment one thing. start your computer and let it be get started properly. Once the desktop get load properly, just open Microsoft Windows for the first time and click on just observe the wristwatch. How much second it takes, just mention it into the blank paper. Close that particular application. Without restarting the system, try to open the same application for the second time. Monitor the time again. You will see the difference in the time. Second time, that particular application get more faster, uh, executes more faster than the previous one, because their text and the data sections are already stored inside the primary storage device called random access memory. They have reserved their space into the RAM. Yes, if you restart the system, automatically all that information get flushed from the primary storage device. Due to the lack, due to the one disadvantage that primary storage device can hold the information temporarily. Let's move on. Third one is the heap part of the process. As I have told you that heap is a one type of sorting called heap sorting that we have discussed into the semester number 2 in subject called data structure. Generally, this particular component is used for the dynamic memory allocation. Here we are forgetting one thing. Process, obviously we know that process might be a microprocess, mini process or a major process. Then how much space it occupies from the main memory? Who decides the space? Then that is decided by dynamic memory allocation, which is also called as DMA. So the full form of DMA is dynamic memory allocation. Various functions we have learned for this DMA, like free, malloc, delete and new, as far as the programming language is concerned. But right now we are discussing about the theoretical part, so I'm just giving you the brief idea. All these are the connected topics. What this particular component does, as per the necessity of the process, as per the necessity of the process, it occupies the memory from the main memory and it is given to that particular process, that particular process resides into the random access memory. That means random access memory unable to recognize the process without its memory allocation. Is it a simple thing? So whenever the process get evaluated, the first thing which is managed by the operating system is the memory allocation for that particular process, so that it can be stored inside the primary storage called RAM. Let's come back. The last component is the stack component. We are aware with the word called stack. Stack means first come, first out. Last in, first out. That is called a stack. That means whichever the process comes very last is going to be executed first. But it is actually a one temporary storage device where there is a dumping of the various process is done by the central processing unit. Let me justify it properly. See, central processing unit is a one type of production unit where it produces mini, major, minor process. As a human being, we can decide this is the mini process, this is the micro process, and this is the major process. But as far as the system is concerned, it requires a proper instruction set to get decide that this is mini, micro, major process. It takes time, and during that time it requires temporary storage. So this stack is a temporary storage where all this dump done by the central processing unit. Once it is done and the memory allocation is executed by the central processing unit, then it recognizes one by one this is major, this is micro, and this is mini process. So that's why over here one line is written: space on the stack is reserved for local variables when they are declared. For this single line, the system works in a many way. So this was all about the definition of process and the four core part of the process called text session, data section, sorting session called heap sorting session, and the stack session. In next lecture, we will discuss about the process state diagram. Let me show you the diagram first. This is the diagram where there are multiple components are there like new, ready, running, waiting, terminated, so on. What's all this? We are going to discuss in process state diagram. Thank you very much students for listening me, and have a nice day.